Hi everybody! So recently I've been getting some questions about how to join Picots. So I thought I'd make another very up close with my giant thread and my giant shuttle video on exactly how I join Picots. So I'm starting with a ring. I've put 3 Picots on it to join. Normally when you're joining a Picot, there's only going to be 1 Picot to join per ring, maybe 2, before you would make like a second ring and join it onto something else. So you may have many Picots to join on a ring to many other rings. I'm not going to be going in depth about how to make the stitches. If you would like a video on that, I have one that I will link here called Flipping Tatting Knots, and that will show the same kind of demonstration on how to form the knot in the first place. I also have a series that covers the basics of knot creation, ring creation, picot creation, and it moves a little faster. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that you already know how to make a knot, it slides, you know how to form a picot, and now you're just interested in joining them. So I'm going to leave a little space and start my next ring. It's always hard to tat with something this big. Alright, I've got my 2 knots, which your pattern will indicate how many knots you need. And I want to join this ring that I'm making to the ring that I made previously. Some shuttles don't have a hook, they just have a kind of a pointed end. If your picot is big enough, you might be able to reach down into your picot and fish it out with just the edge of your shuttle. Some shuttles have a very prominent point on one side for fishing out the thread in the picot, and some of them have a hook, and that's the most convenient way. If your shuttle doesn't have either of them and it's a little too dull to reach on there, or if your picots are just too small that the other two won't necessarily help you, you can just get a hook. In this case, I'm using a large crochet hook. If I were tatting with a smaller thread, I would use a very, very small crochet hook. Sometimes you can find antique hooks. This is one of my favorites. But in any case, just find something that's small enough to fit through your picot and big enough to hold on to your thread. So we're going to join our picots. I want to join this picot between this stitch and the next one I make. So I'm going to take my working thread, my hand thread, and put it behind the picot I want to join. Then I'm going to reach through and pull it through. I don't think this shuttle is quite pointy enough to be able to do it with the shuttle. I don't know, you could kind of make it work. But the hook is definitely bigger for a shuttle ratio this size. So we're going to take our hand thread, put it behind our picot that we want to join, hook through the picot, grab our thread and pull it up through. Once you have this loop, you're going to sew your shuttle through it. You can see. So here's our thread coming up through our picot, and our shuttle thread is now going through this loop that we pulled. Now take your hand thread and pull it tight enough. You don't want to pop your shuttle thread through the picot. You just want to leave it nice and loose in between there. Now take your shuttle and make your next knot. So we have 2 knots, we have our join, and then we have the next knot. And this ring is now joined to this ring that we're making. One question that comes up is whether or not this join should count as a half a stitch. Some patterns and some books I've read use this as the first half of the knot and suggest that you just make the second half of the knot after it. And some of them discount it as creating a knot and just have it be its own stitch and then create a full knot after it. I'll show you what I mean with the next one. So this, I think, or at least what I found, is the more common way. You have complete knots, you have a join, and then you have another complete knot. If we're going to join this picot up here, we're going to, just like the previous way, put your hand thread behind the picot you want to join, put your hook or your shuttle through, grab it, and pull a loop. Once you have that loop, thread your shuttle through. So it's like this. Keep your shuttle thread kind of tight, not too tight, but you want the tension on the shuttle thread so you can pull your hand thread down just until it's tight enough to close, not tight enough to pull your shuttle thread through your picot. If you do, it's not the end of the world. You just have to kind of tug it and pull it back. Pull on the hand thread a little bit, try and get it to come back through so that the shuttle thread can still be a straight thread that goes through, and it should pull. All right, so in this case, what I'm going to do is pretend or count this joining stitch as the first half of the next knot. So in this case, I'm going to skip the first half and go straight to the second half of the knot. And you end up with something like this. Then you would make your next knot. And although it doesn't look like a proper stitch here, it has the same spacing. So in this example, we have whole knot, and then like the space of a half a knot, and then another whole knot. In this case, we have a whole knot, enough stitching that it takes the same place as another whole knot, and then another whole knot. So it's kind of a question of what your pattern is looking for, if you can afford the space of adding joining stitches between all of your tatting knots, or if you need to conserve that space and have it only count as a full knot. So that's a thing you're going to see depending on who the teacher is, what book you're reading, and what the actual pattern is. Okay, so I'll show you one more join, and hopefully that'll be enough to get you going on this step. I'm going to go back to the first way because I believe that's the more common way. We just made this stitch here. We're going to take our hand thread and line it up behind the picot we want to join. Take the hook or the point of the shuttle and go through the picot, pull up the hand thread, and pull it into a loop. Line up, put the hook through, and pull up a loop. At this point, we're going to take our shuttle, put it through the loop so we have a fairly tight shuttle thread, and the hand thread is going around the shuttle thread now, and pull it just tight enough to close the loop, not tight enough to pull the shuttle thread back into the picot. And then carry on. All right, so there's 7 more just because that's how I had in the other one. I'm going to pull the loop closed, and you can see that these two rings, are joined by their picots to the rings. And it's a very solid join. Once you get that ring closed, it's not going to come undone or anything. It's a very solid join. And that's how you join two rings using their picots. Okay, so I thought I'd show you some examples of picot joining at a more, normal size. Here you can see the purple thread had a picot, and the orange thread picked it up. And here again, the purple thread made a picot, and the orange thread picked it up. So I made this one first, and then came along and joined the ring, joined it with the next flower, and then joined the ring again. Another example, this one's much easier to see. Let's see, this one's pretty badly out of shape. It needs to be blocked. So this one was made with rayon embroidery floss, the whole entire thickness of it. And you can see this ring made a picot and was joined, and then had some decorative picots and then another joined picot here. This one is that same pattern, only in one strand of rayon embroidery floss. This one may be harder to see because it's black, but it has these joins. So this ring joins to the stem down here. This would be the chain. It's not necessarily a ring. You can join it to the chains too. Here's a ring where it joins to this one and this one. Well, it joined to this one, and then when I made this one, it joined there. In this case, you would make the ring, you would join it to the previous picot, continue on, and then make the picot to join the next one, and then finish up. And then by the time I finished up and got over to this one, then you go back and join to that one previously. These are more simple examples. You can see this ring, then do a chain, and then this ring joins to the previous picot, makes a picot to join with the next one, make a chain, join with the previous one, make a ring for, or make a picot for the next one. Same thing here. You've got the ring. When you come along and make the next one, join to the previous one with the next ring up here so that these aren't floppy and they're all joined together. So hopefully that helped. It's the same process whether you're joining a picot from a ring to a ring or a chain to a ring. You just need a picot created first, and then when you're making your next one, that's when you join it to the previous one. If you're having any trouble with any steps to tatting or bobbin lace or any of those kind of things, let me know. I do read all my comments, and I will add them to future videos. Tatting especially seems to be one of those things that is a picture is worth 1,000 words kind of art form. So you may read quite a few books and know exactly how it's described to be done, but unless you actually see it, it may not necessarily click. So if there's any kind of steps or anything that you're getting lost on, let me know, and I'll do my best to either answer if I can or just shoot a quick video about it, because if you're having that problem, most likely many other people are too. So thanks for watching. I hope this helped, and until next time, bye.
Is that yours?
Yep.
Ooh. These goes in there.
Mm-hmm.